informal sector takes up about 60 to 70% of the continent, and the women make up that formality. They occupy most of the informal sector. And that informal sector, which sustains the continent, is actually run by the women. 80 to 85% is run by the women.
Okay. You say 80 to 85 of the women, of the populace are women, and
Yes.
they're contributing to most of the GDP. But we know as Africans, it's a patriarchal society. So what are the implications for women in that? We may occupy such a large percentage. Is it being reflected?
So the implications is that
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chatting with the Experts, where I speak with phenomenal women from Africa, from the Caribbean, and in the diaspora. The mission of this show is to educate women, to inspire women, to empower women globally. And my guests share the same mission with me. Today, we have a very interesting episode, and we're going to be talking about women in technology in Africa. My guest who will join me in a few minutes is Counsel and Senior Fellowship at the Geneva Center of Knowledge Governance. She's also the co-founder of and currently Senior Research and Policy Advisor at the International Lawyers and Economists for Development, that is ILAED. She's probably going to correct me on this, ILAED.org, where she combines teaching and research with providing policy, legislative advice, and technical training to governments, intergovernmental organizations, and civil society, while focusing mainly on intellectual property, IP, as well as trade, e-commerce, women economic empowerment, and development. And with that, I want to welcome Dr. Susan Isiko Strba to Chatting with the Experts.
Well, thank you, Paula, for having me.
Susan, your bio is so impressive. Oh, my word. When I met you, I was blown away. And now I'm reading it again. I'm like, woo!
Thank you.
Oh, my word. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to be talking about a subject that is close to my heart, and I know to yours, which is women.
Because,
Yes.
yeah.
We're going to be talking about women in technology in Africa. So with that, let's talk about what does technology look like in Africa in the first place?
I'll give the short answer, which you find in most papers or most international institutions and organizations. It's bleak. Bleak because we have someone else defining it. But yes, it's bleak if you compare to Google, if you compare to Microsoft. But there is technology. That's all I can tell you. So the technology in Africa is special to Africa, like a continent with many developing countries, but there is technology. You want a longer answer?
Yes, please give us a longer answer because that one sinks my heart. But I know there are reasons for us saying this.
Look, I'll take a step back. We are talking about women in technology. It is something which doesn't sound techy, so to say. Africa is mainly an informal setting. I won't say economy because Africa is not one country, it's a continent. But yes, a lot of informality. And what does informality have to do? Meaning that people are not working in white-collar jobs, they are not in formal settings. They survive with more like what my own work. But what does it have to do with women and technology? That informal sector takes up about 60 to 70% of the continent, and the women make up that formality. They occupy most of the informal sector. And that informal sector, which sustains the continent, is actually run by the women. To 85% is run by the women. Without counting agriculture, which is like known, that's where women are working, but other activities that bring in the GDP is the women. And then how do we connect that to technology? It means this group of people cannot be ignored when you're talking about development, because technology, good technology, because there's good and bad, helps the development of the continent. So you can't ignore those who are contributing 80 to 85% of the continent's GDP.
Okay. You say 80 to 85 of the women, of the populace are women, and they're
Yes.
contributing to most of the GDP. But we know as Africans, it's a patriarchal society. So what are the implications for women in that? We may occupy such a large percentage, but is it being reflected?
So the implications is that the women have a charge. Remember, you just mentioned this patriarchal. So the men are and should be leading. But the reality is, when it comes to running the economy, much as the statistics won't show, because this is the other thing, that women are not, their achievements are not recorded. And that's why they need to be involved in technology, else, and hopefully record for themselves what is not being recorded by other people. Now, there's a saying that who is not around cannot be hurt by a tree. A tree cannot fall on the person who is not there. So the men naturally record for themselves. But back to your question, the implication is that these women who are holding the economy, what contributing to the economy, when we are talking of technology, they really need to have a grasp of it.
Yes.
And that technology, it has levels. Now we are talking about the woman who is working in the informal sector. So what kind of technology are we talking about? The technology that will be useful. Precisely, when you are talking about technology, there are different levels and definitions. And how we define it, how we look at it, depends, Paula, on what we are trying to achieve, what problem we are trying to solve. Let's give an example. A woman who needs a drone on a big agricultural farm to measure weather or to communicate about the climate, that's technology for her. A woman who needs to use her telephone, understand health data, that's technology for her. So, but their telephones are everywhere. Okay. If you don't know that there are actually so many who don't even have a telephone, that's all technology. But a woman who needs to use artificial intelligence to ask it a very high-tech question, that's the technology for her. So there are different, the spectrum I've said, from the informal, from the farm to the maybe fifth industrial revolution. I don't know what they call it, but that level. So we have women in all that spectrum, even in Africa.
So, with this research you've done, how can we, because we're going from one end of the spectrum to the next. Okay, let's start with, I don't want to say the bottom end. Let's start with, because I said one end, the woman who is using a drone for agriculture, because a lot of our women are involved with agriculture, whether it's industrialized or not, whatever the case. Even if they have a small plot of land, it's still agriculture. How do we leverage that technology for women in that setting?
It's actually one of the things we've been working on recently at the ILAED. And I don't mean to market myself, but this is a real example of something just being differently recently. We have women who have gone, many of them have not even gone to the university. Let's assume when you're at that level, you have a hand on technology, though it's debatable. They have their farms. They're doing different activities. And for them, what technology means is to be able to tell people about what they have on the farm or in the small industries and how much they can sell and what they can sell. That's technology. And that comes with how you communicate, to call it social media, but it could be other kinds of media. They need to understand how to manage that media. Yeah, we're talking about marketing, but you need the technology to help you do the marketing so that people buy those products or they come and one is able to put food on the table, but also take their children to a decent school and keep them there. That's a very simple example. And we are working with women who are working things as basic as batiks, but they sell their designs. They show off their designs using this, what will look like simple technology.
So now this is using, well, for them to even communicate about the products that they have in their farmland, they need to be educated on, as you said, how to communicate in an effective way. So whether it's
Yes.
like social media, so that's another level.
Yes.
How do they get that awareness? How do they get the knowledge on how to market on social media? Because social media could be there, but they even need the tools. They need to have the phones to be able to access the social media apps. And then even when they access the social media apps, to be able to know how to even use it to market and create awareness.
Thank you. That's a very pertinent question. One of the things that we teach, and many institutions and organizations teach, how to help people use the social media. Because most of this technology, they learn very obvious things like click forward on maybe WhatsApp, delete whatever. But how to package them, how to reformat a photo, for example, retouch it. Those are skills, but they are increasing the selling. Make the picture look better. How many people you send it, when you send it. Remember, you're talking about women. They might be running 3 jobs. So they are doing most of this me kind of thing, the technology, where technology is really needed in the night. They don't have much time. That they put everybody to bed, so they are tired. So we teach them how to do it quickly. How to do it quickly and intelligently. Things like schedule your posting. After learning how to post, schedule them like for a whole month. That while you're doing other things for 3 weeks, at least they so that they do themselves. They work while you're doing other, as people like to say, while you are sleeping. They are not necessarily sleeping, but you're not there. Yes, so they start teaching. And talk of teaching, if I may go a bit further, social media, now we get to the other spectrum of high-tech technology. For example, artificial intelligence. We also teach, use it. How do you use it? And before we are using Siri, now you have all kinds of people, how to use those to program certain things for you so that you don't have to always do it. They don't have to do it and waste time. By the way, you talked about patriarch society. Not all men are happy to see a woman who is fixed on that telephone. So this kind of gadgets and technology is also to help them still keep the peace at home at the same moment.
Wow. So it comes down to sometimes just understanding the culture, understanding the cultural norms within Africa, as we said, is a big continent.
Yeah.
So getting familiar with how things work in different countries and even in different societies or environments within the same country.
Yes.
That's in itself is complex and complicated because there's some communities where I guess it's almost culturally you may be changing the whole family setup by making these women even more industrious and they're more tech savvy, because many times technology is looked at as like something that the men know or the children know something, and not, the women are kind of left out.
Yeah. Exactly. Actually, back again to how does technology look like? Most opportunities in technology are to men. Those that are streamlined, like government is doing it, every own institution is doing it. But then women are also coming up to help each other. And you also have institutions like, for example, Ernst and Young, you have MasterCard Foundation, even the regional organizations like the African Union, they have specific programs to teach women in technology. But as I said, these are streamlined, they are policy, they are big institutions. They may not reach my mother deep in the village or your grandparents, I don't know where. So there, you need visionary women who are there to help other women come up. And they exist. And one of the things I could, for example, now if you get back to the big technology, the other end of the spectrum, artificial intelligence, for example, I have women who are working with communities there, DAIR.
Okay, DAIR. Okay.
Yeah, it's Distributed Artificial Intelligence Research Institute.
Distributed Artificial Intelligence Research. Okay.
Yeah. So they're working on technology. They are building models, artificial intelligence models in Africa for disadvantaged communities. And women are the first on the radar because artificial intelligence, I don't want to go into deep into the nuances, but it's a technology which is like, it looks like it's owned by the West, by Google, by Microsoft, and there are challenges when it comes to African society, not only Africa, the fact that it's developed outside, there's so many things that are not taken into that are specific to Africa, our languages, the culture, even just women, how they dress, how they, certain things, certain information that is divulged when it shouldn't be, a relationship between parents and children. So that's about education. And it's a role in academy of, it's not the role, but it has an unwritten kind of law that women do the first training or teaching, educating of the children.
Yes.
Yes. And even when they become men and they get out of the house, the woman continues to educate. So you have this technology that is developed elsewhere that does not cater to that. So on the continent, you also have women who are coming up saying, we have to develop our own models. We don't need to always have large language models like it has been preached, to be able to develop artificial intelligence that caters to our own needs. And it is sensitive, if at all artificial intelligence is sensitive, but to our culture.
Yeah.
So there is just an example I have given. There is a noodle license, noodle like the food.
Okay. N-O-D noodle. DDL.
NODLE. Yeah, it's about how you use artificial intelligence, the data you get to develop and how you focus it to the African continent, but be careful who else can access it. So those are just, I'm giving just summary because I don't want to get into the details of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's to do with how intellectual property works, how commerce works, how then that efficient intelligence comes in. But it's women who are championing this.
That encourages me. My heart sings as I hear that women are championing this. And these are African women.
African continent.
Yes. So African women are championing it on the African continent.
Yes.
That makes my heart sing. Yes. Oh my God. Because as I'm thinking that, of course, as you said, programming it to suit the culture, to suit the people, to suit the different, because there are many different languages, is imperative for it to be able to be used in some disadvantage and even some of in the cities themselves.
Yes.
And many times it has to be championed by people that they can relate to, people who they look like, who can understand their cultures and who they're comfortable with. The recipients of it are comfortable with the teachers. Okay, I'm looking at time. Oh boy, this is deep. This is really deep. So what about collaboration? Are there a lot of collaborations between, we talked about disadvantaged communities within the continent, which are within countries within the continent, and those who are championing it. Those who are championing it, can't say that word today, they are collaborating, if I may ask, with Western, with the big companies, the big tech companies, and then bringing it, teaching others to now take it and run and bring it to these disadvantaged communities. Or you tell me more about that, the collaboration that are within and beyond the borders that we see.
Yeah, for any thing that is worthy of a name or recognition, it's not only the energy and the knowledge that is spent. There's the brain, there's the money. There's an African saying that if you want to go fast, you go alone.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go far, what do?
You bring others on. You go together.
You go together. And yes, collaboration is very important. I've spoken of languages. I've spoken of educational culture. I've spoken of women. There's reproduction, which we shy of to speak. There are different ways. That's one. It's collaborating. Imagine someone in East Africa. I'm from East Africa, so forgive me if I speak of East Africa. But they want to produce a product that is relevant also to West Africa. Now we are talking in terms of artificial intelligence. You have to understand how things are done in Nigeria, what this means. And then you have the different languages, not models, coming up so that they are trained to speak a language or to express things that is culturally acceptable. That's one. But then there's the other thing I mentioned about funding. So yes, there needs to be a collaboration between the researchers who are researching these models, for example, I mentioned there, and the users of those models and the funders, because it's not always there enough money in one person's pocket. So there can be this collaboration or funding collaboration, financing collaborations can be between the local institutions or startups. There are so many startups, by the way, in the field of AI in Africa and foreign, but there are challenges there as to who owns data and you want data privacy. That's another topic for another day. But there are also possibility of collaborations between member states, countries, Uganda with Nigeria, South Africa, under, for example, the African Continental Free Trade Area. They are working a lot on this. And under that framework, there is actually already focus on women, economic empowerment, so it makes it easy. And now technology and electronic commerce. But yes, you also have local institutions like, I come back today, so we already mentioned this, it's an easy example. They are collaborating with institutions in North America and Europe to do research. But for disadvantaged communities, not for the streamlined American Swiss.
Yeah. Needed, absolutely needed to work with the disadvantaged communities because there are lots of geniuses there, lots of untapped talent there that you discover when you actually have people from the streamlined communities going into these communities and teaching and making people aware of what is happening beyond their community. Oh my gosh, Suzanne, there's so many questions I can ask you, but in terms of time, I would leave it open for those who have joined us in the audience. But for those looking online, if we want to hear more about, if they want to know more about what you do, how can they get in touch with you?
They can use for professional, which I have two hats, you read there. So for them, my professional, you can contact me by email on Susan.Isiko Strba at the Graduate Institute. Is I am out through. Susan.Isiko Strba at the Graduate Institute.ch.
Institute, I'm writing that down. We put it in the chat. .ch. Okay. Right.
And for the charity, which is International Lawyers and Economists for Development, the ILAED, where we support women economic empowerment, that's ILAED
okay. Drop
at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you on any of the social media platforms?
Yes,
like LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn, X, Facebook, and Instagram.
All right. I'll drop all of that in the chat for those who would love to hear even more and find out more about you and what you're doing, the impactful work you're doing for women empowerment. And for me, I want you to know if you'd like to be a guest on the show like Dr. Suzanne has been, please reach out to me on my website, which is chattingwiththeexperts.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. My business page there is Chatting with the Experts, so you can message me on my profile, which is Paula Okonneh. I am on Instagram, and my handle there is at chat_experts_podcast. And Facebook, my business page, Chatting with the Experts. And last but not least, please subscribe to our YouTube channel where you listen if you want. And you can view the incredible women just like Dr. Susan here and all the work that they are doing to educate, empower, and encourage and also inspire women globally. Thank you so much, Dr. Suzanne, for this conversation. Very informative. And now let's open up the floor for those who joined us so that they can have an opportunity to talk even more with you and get to know you better and you get to know them as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.